Welcome, everybody. I'm Coach Cindy from All Training, and I'm here with the lovely Janice. Janice and I coach together let's back it up. Janice and I have known each other for a very long time.
Yes.
From the gym,
Yep.
we've known each other from Consistency Club, doing lots of different challenges. And you
Mhm.
did a coaching program way back when with me
Yeah.
as well. So we've
Mhm.
gone, like these ebbs and flows
Mhm.
of Janice and I were kind of working together. And most recently, she signed up for one-to-one coaching for 12 weeks. And then we'll talk about it, but we also extended into another 6 months afterwards, and we'll
I
talk
sure
about
did.
it. So, welcome, Janice.
Thank you.
Well, why don't I start by telling everybody who's watching maybe a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I live in Blue Point, so out by the lake. I get to enjoy the beautiful Lake Huron sunsets year round.
Mhm.
I have three kids, and they're all in their late 20s. Well, actually, no, they're all in their 30s now. And and our first grandbaby just came along in March. And I like to golf and I curl in the winter and I make quilts. And I'm married to my husband, Joe, for 37 years. I had to do the math. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and we can start to
yeah,
see where some of Janice's weaknesses are is in math.
math. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah,
When
okay.
it's that many years that you feel like just rounding it up or
Right.
down.
Yeah, yeah. Just around somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, why don't we start off by just talking about like what made you jump into coaching? So talk about your journey with weight loss, journey with health, because we're gonna go in that direction as well.
Sure.
Talk about that and then talk about kind of where you were, the point that made you arrive to coaching.
Which time?
Right, this time. Yeah, but you can also
This
talk about
time.
all the other times for sure.
Yes. Um, so I've always been active, exercise wise. Most of my years have been consistent. I've always thought that that's been my strong point, was that I love to exercise and I always did some sort of exercise. Um, the nutrition has always been the stumbling block for me. And I would default to the quick fixes. And I've done a few of them. I've done, can I say the ones that I've done
It's up to you if you want to name or
out
just
loud?
name what you did.
Okay.
Well, like the kinds of like the principles behind them. It's up to
Yeah.
you.
So I've
Yeah.
done, the WW one. I've done the isogenics ones. I've done, I think the latest one was Ewan. And, I've always looked for something. I wanted quick weight loss, but it was never sustainable. As soon as those programs stopped and the accountability stopped, it was back to, you know, over time, back to the original weight, the original feelings, you know, and I never felt like I was ever going to be finished that.
Hmm.
So it was, yeah, a long time. And then when I met Cindy, I realized she wasn't just a fitness coach or a nutrition coach. It was also all about why I was doing things, the mindset of everything. All the mindset questions, actually, there were more of those than the nutrition ones, which were, difficult for me to answer at times. I didn't, always didn't have the answers to, why I did certain things. It took a lot of digging over time to figure those out. And then so before I connected with Cindy the last time, I was just fed up. I thought, I'm reaching my 60s. I can't spend the rest of my life feeling like this. So, and I knew this was always the answer. It was just, I knew it wasn't going to be the quick fix. And I also knew that wasn't working for me. So
Hmm.
that's what brought me to you.
So part of your journey has been about weight.
Yeah.
Part of your journey has also been about being able to keep up with your active lifestyle and keep
Yes.
up with your husband Joe's active
Right.
lifestyle as well. And then part of it has been about health. for
Yes.
you. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Um, just over 10 years ago, probably 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with bowel and liver cancer. And I was very fortunate to have great surgical teams and a great oncologist who threw everything at me, very aggressive. I was 49 at the time. And so I was young enough that they would throw everything at it. And I was very fortunate to not have any stumbling blocks. And I came through it, and I'm 10 years cancer free,
Hmm.
over 10 years, almost 11. But along that way, with the chemo, the radiation, the surgeries, I had a lot of abdominal surgeries. So I had a challenge of with my gut health. Bowel movements were a big, another big stumbling block. And I couldn't seem to get any movement on those, movement on those.
Nice.
And, I would ask the doctors about it. And surgeons don't typically know or care to weigh in or have the time to weigh in on this is what you should be eating, this is what you should be drinking, this is what you shouldn't be doing. They cut you open, they do a good job of that, but there was so much that came after all that. So um, I needed to right that ship too at the same time, and realize that if I didn't get my nutrition in check, none of that was going to happen either. So,
Yeah. And
yeah,
part of that too was that there was fear.
yeah,
So, fear around like if you didn't go to the bathroom is like what's happening, or
yeah,
if this pain persisted, what was happening.
right. Yeah.
A blood marker came back elevated.
Hmm.
So it was not just
Yeah,
navigating the changes to your digestive system, but it was also navigating that loud fear voice as well.
that's right. Yeah.
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 And one of the things I remember through coaching too is that oftentimes, so we did a lot of work around your cravings and kind
Right.
of your relationship with food. And one of the things
Yeah.
that came out of that work was that when you don't necessarily eat healthy, the guilt that's associated with it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily around weight. It was about, is this feeding more cancer,
Right. Exactly.
contributing to it returning?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely what it was. And took a long time to get past that, um, because I know my science brain part knows that that's not always the cause of things. It's
Yeah.
genetics, it's all sorts of things. I, yeah, I beat myself up a long time for a long time, thinking in my earlier years, if I'd only done this, if I'd have drank less, if I'd have not smoked in my 20s and 30s. Um, but that didn't serve me at all because there was no point in looking back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's break it down for those that are listening, because a lot of them haven't coached or have done
Hmm.
many different things. So let's look at from the exercise angle of things. So one, you're an avid golfer. So we obviously looked at like walking versus the cart, but then you had
Yeah.
an injury, that
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So that limited too. And
Yeah.
what people don't know watching this as well is that part of our coaching you did here, like at home, and then the other part
Yeah.
you did when you are in California, which is something you and your husband do
Right. Yeah.
every winter. And this year you went a little bit longer even.
Yes, we
So
did.
can you talk about like what was different or about the exercise thing when we coached together and particularly around your injury as well?
Yeah. Um, I realized that if I wasn't going to be consistent in my movement and strenuous exercise, that all the other things that I did weren't going to match up. It just wasn't, I wasn't going to feel good. If I wasn't feeling good, I wasn't going to eat healthy. Um, and then, I got into a good groove when we first started working together. And then I got this injury that honestly, I've never had an injury that lasted so long in my life. And what it could have done is just made me stop everything. But because we were pretty deep into our coaching journey, I was able to push through that, do what I could at the time. It was frustrating because there were a lot of things I couldn't do, and I didn't feel like the workouts were being effective.
Mm.
But just the fact that I hadn't stopped, even if I had to dial them back, it made a big difference
Hmm.
in my minds, my emotional side, my mindset, my confidence. And I think that's one of the biggest things I'm most proud of is pushing through that injury, and it being such a doozy. But I had a goal. I wanted to make sure I was, going to be able to hike when we went to California, to golf, and you know, move forward instead of just sitting on my butt for
Yeah.
6 months or however long it took.
And what I love about that, it was an all or nothing. So we were still
Yeah,
working on the mindset and the nutrition thing. So we were doing hard
yeah,
things. And then we were trying to be flexible with movement here,
yeah,
with what your body was able to do while it recovered. And then we were putting in, the massage and the chiro and all the
mhm,
other practices in as well to get us kind of
yeah,
through that phase as well. So
yeah,
and I think that that's an important highlight because some people, when they get caught with an injury, it's like everything stops.
yeah.
And that's been your history.
It has been. Yeah, that's the old me. Yeah,
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah. And then it was
yeah.
also then figuring out, okay, well, what's this all going to look like when you get to California, when you're
Right.
more
Yeah,
active in walking. But
yeah,
then, when it was like it's hotter there, it's like,
yeah,
all that stuff. But then it's
yeah,
also, the workouts. How did that look? So it's like,
yeah,
I always love when I get a client who's like, it's not perfect the whole time because it's like
yeah.
you get to navigate what it looks like when it's not perfect, right? So when
Right.
you have the
Yeah,
injury when it's like I'm in California versus at home, it's like you get
yeah,
different modes of the plan, and how
yeah,
to navigate that.
yeah. I I always feel excited to work out when I'm there and do my exercise because it's new scenery, it's beautiful weather. There's never an excuse to not go for a walk or open up the garage door of the condo and do a workout. Go for a hike. The hiking is within 10 minutes of anywhere we go. And so I knew that there wasn't going to be any barriers to that.
Mhm.
So because we drive instead of fly, we take our golf clubs and we take a lot of gym equipment. So we take a lot of weights, and they're heavier weights this year too, which was
Nice.
so, and so everything's set up when we get there. So we don't have to go to a gym to get a temporary membership or anything like that. We set ourselves up, both Joe and I, so that everything's available like it is at home.
Mhm.
But I find I was even more consistent there because it's just beautiful, right? And like the weather, I would rather be outside. So
Yeah.
there were
It's
lots of
also
walks. Yeah.
it's also you and Joe doing things together. Like you guys
Yes.
hiking
Oh,
more
absolutely.
together and golfing
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did longer hikes, higher elevations this year. Probably not as many because it got really hot, but the ones we did were, they weren't just a walk in the park,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which was those ones are good too. But when you have a goal like this, you want to just ramp it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
we were glad to do that. And although the nutrition part was I was a little concerned about that, but I knew I'd be moving more so I could, offset a lot of, there was more alcohol, not necessarily more um, desserts because I don't even think there was any. We just don't typically, unless we go out for ice cream, which we're not real
Because Joe
ice
makes his
cream.
own.
He makes his own. That's right. And I think, no, he didn't make any when we were out there just because there was nobody there to eat it but us. But it's different produce out there. It's fresher because it's in California. They're growing
Yeah.
everything there. And we have citrus trees 2 feet away from our condo. I, but it was more, I think the biggest thing was the more alcohol.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't drinking 10 drinks a day or even six, but it got up there, and which is different from home. So,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the nutrition. So, I guess like what did you learn about food that maybe was missing? And we'll leave the mindset part out because I think that
okay.
that's the biggest lesson of
Yeah.
maybe that we've kind of learned, but and we can go into the peanut butter story as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, what did you learn about nutrition? Because even when you describe some of the other programs you've done, they were very much shake based, and now we were looking
Yeah.
at eating food.
Yeah. And this program is not restricted. at all. I mean, the the last program I did, the last quick fix I did was 1,200 calories a day. I just looked that up and I thought, I don't know how I even functioned. But part of that program was to not work out. And I remember them saying, if you work out, then it skews this and it skews that. And I was, I think it was, I was in such a desperation mode at that time that I'm like, okay, but I still did work out. I
Hmm.
didn't necessarily tell them. I think I wanted to prove them wrong. But, so because I can't not work out, and I told them that. So, but I think nutrition wise, I think what I realized was that more nutritionally dense food was the answer, even though it felt like at times a lot of food. The protein numbers were high. Um, the carb numbers in the beginning were a little scary from what I'm used to, but their energy, right?
Hmm.
So I noticed when I didn't have, if I saved all my carbs for a dinner out, I didn't have any energy during the day. Um, I learned that, um, I just had that thought in my head that yes, I think the biggest thing was that more food didn't mean weight gain. It meant stronger. It meant more, you know, you can lift more, you can move more, you can move faster, because you're fueled properly and not running out of gas halfway through.
Yeah, but weight loss did
Yeah.
happen as
Oh,
well.
it's absolutely it did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
because I
sure
always
did.
like it's like when it comes to weight loss, there's this belief is eat as little as possible,
Right.
but you want to eat as much as possible. It's
Hmm.
just how you're making up that food that matters.
Yeah.
So you talked about
Yeah.
protein, you talked about carbs, like
Hmm.
fats there as well, and then there was veggies,
Yeah.
like all of those things. So it's how
Hmm.
that is made up. So you always want an
Yeah.
approach that what's the most I can get away with and still hit
Right.
my goals.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there were still foods that I avoided, and I still do, just because, and I think it's mostly because they don't make me feel good.
Hmm.
Or they make me feel sluggish or don't agree with my irritable tummy, finicky tummy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, um,
And
yeah, there and it just felt like nothing had to be rushed, and I think that was the biggest thing too.
yeah.
Right? Just what was the hurry? If if the scale's doing this and the measurements are doing this, as long as they're doing this and not just keep going up and up and up, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And that's the value of having a coach is because oftentimes when
yeah,
you see them going up, you think, what's the point and what am I doing wrong? But you have a coach who's like looking at the trend overall,
right. Yes,
right? And
yeah,
he's actually looking at how consistent have you been with the other
yeah,
things
yeah,
that you're doing.
yeah,
And so it was like, okay, so I like that we talked about like nutrition and we talked about like, hey, it was eating real food, it was eating more food.
right.
And it was about like fueling for your workouts, fueling, and then we still got results. And then how
Yeah,
it was like, hey, we made it work for California as well. We made it work
yeah,
for we talked at length about alcohol consumption
yeah,
as well and where we needed to adjust the dial in terms of our expectations or even our
right.
digestive system if we were going to make kind of those concessions.
Yeah,
One of the things we talked about was peanut butter because
right.
peanut butter was always that kind of one food for you where it was like once you started you couldn't
Yeah,
stop. And one of the things we did in the beginning was removed the peanut butter
right.
out of the house, and then we brought the peanut butter in. And
Hmm.
initially, you brought in the peanut butter you didn't like, so it wasn't a big challenge.
Yeah,
And then it was like
yeah.
we got to bring in the peanut butter that you do like to see how this changes. And I remember us working on the chair you used to eat because of what I used to happen. At the
Yes,
end of the night, you used to get your computer, sit in one chair, and eat the peanut butter. And so we kind of discussed the chair, like move the chair to a different location or do a different
right.
chair. So could you can
Yeah,
talk about like how we
yeah,
worked through that thing that's been the hang up and where you at with it?
yeah. Um, I think where I'm at right now, I'll kind of go backwards. Where I'm at right now is that I still um, don't want it in the house, but it's there because my husband likes it.
Hmm.
And so I have to work through what that feels like. And there are days that I still want to take that spoonful of peanut butter. And if I do, I don't beat myself up over it. I'll either, consciously count it because I still, even though it's not always recorded, I'm still keeping track in my head.
Mhm.
Um, it's not something that I miss if I don't have it. It's become less tasteful to me. It's
Less of
not
a pull or a draw toward.
less of a, yeah, it's not, I don't crave it anymore.
Mhm.
Whether maybe that was because I got sick of it. I don't know. But no, I don't think that was it at all. I think it was it. I was just I wasn't eating it I was eating it without thinking.
Yeah.
It just became such a habit. And because I never wrote it off as protein because I knew that that wasn't the main source, right?
No.
Um, and I can eat it in measured amounts. If I go out, and you've said this about yourself, if I go out, I'll have it on toast.
Mhm.
And the odd time I'll do that here now. So I still have the odd spoonful, but it's not every day. And
Yeah.
it's not two spoonfuls or,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're in control of the peanut butter.
yeah,
Peanut butter is
yeah,
not in control of you.
yeah, definitely.
And one of the things we
Yeah.
did with nutrition too is you started off with portions, learning about
Hmm.
that, learning about the macros. Then we moved into like my Fitness Pal to do
Yeah.
tracking as you extended kind of your coaching. And then
Hmm.
we moved into no tracking
Right.
to see
Yeah.
how that felt.
Which was, yeah, a little scary at first, but um, I knew what the portions looked like. So I just had to, use all that knowledge and I had to be really honest about it too. I did measure for the longest time when I started not tracking.
Hmm.
So I'll concentrate more on measuring. And then it just became, I kind of just knew what everything looked like.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it was, and it feels better not tracking, but I still go back and do it every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a
Just
tool,
to,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
absolutely.
tool in your now you got the portion tracking tool, you got the my
Yeah.
Fitness Pal tracking tool, and you got
Hmm.
the like, hey, I'm just gonna measure, I'm just gonna like
Yeah.
feel my body and see you got that
Right.
tool in your tool basket
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. It's not an enemy. I don't dislike tracking anymore. It's knowledge, like you say, it's knowledge for me now. It's not shame, and it's not oh, I shouldn't have eaten this. I shouldn't have. It's just if I did, I did, and then you just move on. And that was
Yeah.
another big, you know, big milestone was just if I had something that wasn't on plan, which there was nothing that wasn't, but if I there was something that I felt like I should have made a better choice, it was just like it's over with. We start new the next day.
Yeah, and we got to a point too in our coaching where you were really good at reflecting. Like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
really good at, I think it was because you got good at what the question that was going to come.
Right.
Like you're
I
like, if I
always
had a
knew.
do-over day, this is what I would do differently is that
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is, oh, I can see why this happened here because of this over here. Like
Yeah.
you were really good at like seeing the connections
Yeah.
afterward.
It felt like it took a little bit to get to that point, but the do-over days, I just used one the other day again. So they're still popping up. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, if I this wasn't, and I'm not looking for perfection either, and you know, that's freeing in itself.
Yeah.
So
So let's talk about mindset. So one of the things you
mhm.
said was like, one of the things you said, just when we were talking before, is you said, I started this journey for me, but also because I wanted others to notice
Right. Yeah.
about that shift.
Yeah. So I've always I shouldn't say always. I think when I was younger, I thought that people paid more attention to what I looked like, what I weighed. Um, and it wasn't that I was ever asked directly or chastised or anything like that. That was never part of it. But I think what I've learned is that people don't pay as much attention as you think they do. So it has to be all for me. It's what makes me feel good. And I can't worry if someone is judging me off to the side. I can't worry about that. That's not anything I can control.
Hmm.
And people generally don't.
No.
They're too busy living their own lives and trying to get through their own struggles that, I think, and I think as women, having the image, a certain image, and you're brought up with a certain image, whether it be skinny or muscular or that. But I think it has to come down to, what are you feeling well? Are you happy in your body? Are you moving? And I think if you're moving and you're eating, you know, healthy 90% of the time, or even 70% of the time, I think that has to be enough.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I'm a lot more, oh, I'm gonna take a minute. So this started out as a weight loss, nutrition, um, exercise thing, and I wrote some notes the other day about, and it morphed into, um, when I so we talked about doing it for me now, and what I have found, that as I've decided what's better for me, what's better for Janice to do, if I want to exercise, I'm going to exercise, and I'm not going to worry about somebody saying, "Oh, just come out with us. You can do that tomorrow." I've learned to put that into a different compartment and say, "No, this is what I'm doing. This is me. I'm going to fit my routine into all the other social things
Mhm.
instead of the other way around."
Yeah.
Um, and if it doesn't fit, then that's fine too. And I think I've learned who my biggest supports are and who are people who don't support me at all. And I think, and that's in everything, right? Comes, in in friendships that don't serve me anymore. And there were a couple that were surprising, but when I let those go, it just felt so much better. And
Hmm.
it was people who, didn't understand that, I'm eating this way for a certain reason. It makes me feel better. Why aren't you having any French fries? How come you never have French fries? You should have some French fries. You should be able to do this. Well, I didn't want to. That wasn't me. And I found that if I let those kind of people into that circle, then it was tempting to sway from what I really wanted, from my goals. So
For
yeah,
you. Yeah. One of
yeah,
the things that happened during our coaching is you reconnected with an old high school friend.
I did. Yes. Yeah. And we're going to meet again in a couple of months.
Oh, good.
And we were, those years we were so far apart in personality and in what our lives were doing. But now we're very aligned in exercise and nutrition and all that too. So it's like a new relationship, a new
Yeah.
old relationship.
I'm
So
excited that you're meeting
yeah,
again. That's
yeah,
great.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
What do you think
good.
was the biggest surprise for you?
Hmm. Oh, the biggest surprise. Goodness. Can you give me a prompt? um,
This is not enough of a prompt. I'm trying to think of what's a prompt.
that's why I wanted these questions ahead of time.
I wonder if it had to do with the questions you were asked. So I wonder if, because one of the things that you said was, I always known this was it, but I was always looking for the shortcut. But I also wonder if part of that was I didn't want to be asked the hard questions.
Well, yes, that was, and if anybody out there has coached with Cindy before, that's Cindy. She asked many, 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 many questions, and over and over again, and those answers changed over time. And I think that wasn't a surprise to me, but it felt good. It felt, even if the answer was this one day, maybe it was totally opposite the next day, and then it reverted back to that original answer. It was still, it was still made me think of those. I'm looking at some notes here that I made just
Mhm.
a sec. I wrote these a while ago. Um, okay. So I was writing that my life feels like less chaotic now. And, when you think of chaos, you think of, terror and an organization. It wasn't necessarily a scary chaos. It was like I jumped from one thing to the other, a quick weight loss plan, and then I skyrocket back up to doing what I was doing before. I feel more peaceful, more relaxed in if I, if I'm up a few pounds or up a few inches, I don't freak out and go all or nothing anymore. And I think that's it's good for everybody. It's good for me. It's good for my husband. It makes a more happy me,
Hmm.
more more peaceful for sure. Um, your coaching started with choosing the right foods, and I'm reading this because I wrote it
Yeah.
down. It started with choosing the right foods and workouts for my body, eating slowly and mindfully, and evolved into choosing what was right for me in many other aspects: friendships, boundaries, prioritizing every aspect of my life, and calming the noise, the food noise, the judgment that is perceived, which it's mostly perceived. For me, it was mostly perceived. It wasn't a reality, it was my perception. I realize now that more times than not, I was pouring from an empty cup, and you use that um, analogy quite often. When I wasn't prioritizing what was important to me, and I was sacrificing my needs over the needs of others, my family especially, um, and that wasn't serving any of them well,
Hmm.
right? Um, I can now be both a support to other people because I put myself first, if that makes sense. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because your cup is full, so now you have more to give, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, so when I'm asked to reflect on my accomplishments, I used to automatically think that it meant career wise. And that takes me down the narrative that of things I wish I had have done. I wish I'd have pursued a nursing career. But then I think of my accomplishments in general. And I think of how proud I am of the children that we've raised. They're kind, they're good people. And I think, in a nutshell, that's all I need. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it starts with one thing, and it ends on a whole different level.
Well, that's when we incorporate the mindset stuff and
Mm-hmm.
you get clarity on where you're headed, get clarity on who you are and what you
Yeah.
want from your life, right? And
Yeah.
so when you think about all those other things, we weren't doing the mindset stuff, connecting to our values and our core beliefs, and we were
Right.
doing all
Yeah.
of that connection piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Able to
That's for
be on
sure.
his side. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
What would you say to the woman who's like, I've tried it all, I'm a lost cause, like it's like nothing seems to work. They're where
Mm-hmm.
you were in the beginning.
Yeah. I think I would say don't stop. Don't settle. Don't If you're not feeling good in your body or your mind, and you're second guessing everything you do, then keep going. Look for the person that you connect with.
Hmm.
Um, it won't be the first one, might not even be the second one, but yeah, just keep going because it's worth it. It's
Hmm.
and you've made it worth it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Janice.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
What would you say if I asked you, how do you take care of yourself, or what does self-care mean to you now than it did before? What would you say?
I think it's finding a good balance between um, the active times, the exercise, the nutrition, but also finding time to sit down and reflect on all of that, or just sit down and watch trash TV, right? It doesn't all have to be perfect
Yeah.
every single day. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big takeaway.
Yeah. And I think reflection also comes with like knowing your intention. So, because you could
Mhm.
say, I'm eating this way because it's my self-care, I'm working out this way, but the
Yeah.
mindset is all about beating yourself up or it's motivated by guilt
Oh,
or
absolutely.
shame or what have you. And then
Yeah.
it's no longer in the realm of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm sweaty.
These interviews make us sweaty.
They do.
Thanks so much, Janice, for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story with everybody and trusting me to be your coach and showing
Yes.
up as well,
Mhm.
which is a big part of it all. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. You've changed my life.